Good afternoon. I want to say two things before I speak today. As you may have seen in the Friday email, there was an individual who attended tefillah at our shul who has subsequently tested positive for COVID because we were very careful to maintain distance and to be masked, and we were outside together for only a brief amount of time for a weekday Mariv. None of us who were there at that minyan are considered contacts with this individual, and there is no medical guidance that any of us should quarantine. I'm sure this use that you should know that, first of all, those who attended this minyan have all been notified and they've been given the opportunity to consult with their own doctors if perhaps there's other advice that they should follow, and also to remind you that how important it is that all of us in this community maintain very strict and rigorous COVID practices. We're all in this community together, and our ability to come together in tefillah, the ability for our children to attend school, depends on each member of our community being rigorous and careful in all of our interactions with other people, so that our community doesn't become a vector for disease to spread, God forbid. Many of us have heard the phrase COVID fatigue. It's really, really hard to be so cautious, to maintain these precautions for so many months, but we're Jews. We wait 3 or 6 hours between meat and dairy. We wait until 3 stars appear in the sky before eating after Yom Kippur. We've been waiting for 2,000 years for our Beit HaMikdash to be rebuilt. We know how to wait. We know how to live with discipline, and we can wait a few more months if necessary before rejoining all of the wonderful, normal things that we've been missing this long, okay? Our safety depends on it. This is out there, it's real, and it's here in our community, and we just need to be careful whenever we're with other people. So, and I'll just also add that the individual who was COVID positive, thank God, is recovering well. He does not have a very severe case. And in that same vein, the second thing I want to just remind you is that, please God, the weather forecast is going to play out. We have warm weather in the forecast over Shabbat, and there are still empty spots to sign up to attend in-person minyanim. We are outdoors this Shabbat, and we'll remain outdoors as long as the forecast is above 40 degrees. And I want to encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to attend a distanced and masked outdoor tefillah, if that is in accordance with your own risk profile and tolerance for risk. Please join us if this is something that you're interested in doing and feel comfortable doing. I had a few Talmudic conversations about voting this week. Can someone vote early and mail in their ballot before they turn 18 if they will be 18 by election day? What do you think? So to answer a question like this, using Talmudic analysis, we present a chakira. The word chakira means investigation, and it's used among those analyzing Talmud to present a deeper, a broader conceptual question that can then answer a practical question. So here's the chakira that I would present to think about this question. Here's how it goes. If the point of having an age cutoff to vote is the assumption that someone younger than 18 is not sufficiently mature to make a choice, then someone should not be allowed to vote before one is of age, even if they will be 18 by the time of the election. How can a 17-year-old fill out a ballot? On the other hand, if the election is to clarify the collective will of the voting citizens at one crucial and determinative day, election day, then someone should be able to fill out and mail a ballot so long as that voter is 18 on election day. To test this chakira, let's ask a question from the other side of life. What if a voter mails a ballot and then dies, Rahman al-Islam, before election day? A mature and mentally competent adult voter filled out a ballot, but by the time election day occurs, that ballot did not represent the wishes of a living citizen. Third question, all, I think, hinging on that same chakira. What if someone votes early and then regrets their choice before election day? I had more than one conversation about just that situation in a very practical way this past week. When the time came for the votes to be counted, these ballots no longer represented the will of a citizen because the citizen had changed his or her mind. You can find 50 answers to these questions in the election laws of 50 states. I haven't looked them all up. If my chakira is correct, the answers should line up in a coherent way. But I think these musings indicate something about the nature of voting itself. At best, voting is an approximation. In a representative democracy, voting is the means by which a legitimate government can obtain the consent of the governed and thereby derive authority to govern. But voting is always going to be an approximation of the will of the citizens, since we citizens continually change our minds and we come of age and we pass away. There's a dramatic count in Parshat Vayera. God informs Avraham that the city of Sodom will be destroyed and then invites Avraham to advocate on behalf of Sodom. A tense negotiation then ensues in which Avraham bargains for the people of Sodom, and God concedes that Sodom will not be destroyed if only 50 righteous people can be found in the city, and then 40. Avraham bargains again and again until God promises to spare the city if only 10 righteous individuals can be found there. And then the conversation ends. God leaves Avraham, as it were, and Avraham returns to his home. Avraham never finds out how many righteous people there are in Sodom. He finds out there weren't enough. He doesn't know whether 10, whether not. Well, there weren't 10, but whether 9, whether 8, whether 6. The negotiations end quickly. We subsequently find out that Sodom is to be destroyed. But how close was Sodom to having 10 righteous inhabitants? Some have suggested that the negotiations end so abruptly so that God doesn't have to tell Avraham that Sodom does not even have one righteous person. Ultimately, Avraham and God have access to two different perspectives by which people can be evaluated. Only God can provide objective evaluations of people as either righteous or wicked in this binary way. And God never discloses those judgments to human beings. It's better for God to end the conversation with Avraham than to be pressured through further negotiations into revealing that even Avram's nephew Lot is a wicked man. Not because Avram's feelings had to be spared, but because objective and total judgments of human beings. That's something only available to God with a godlike perspective on the world and on humanity. Avram is the first human being to believe in education. God invites Avram to argue on behalf of Sodom by describing him as one ki dativ leman asher tzaveh et banav v'et beitav acharav v'shamu derech Hashem v'asot tzedakah u'mishpat. I've singled him out that he may instruct his children and his posterity, his household, to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is just and right. It's a combination of the righteous acts with teaching those righteous acts to others. Unlike Noach and his family, Avram believes that virtue and goodness and a commitment to justice can be passed on from one generation to the next, from one person to the next. And because Avram believes in the power of education, he can never give up on human beings. That's how Avram's advocacy for Sodom is introduced. Counting votes is meant to provide an objective measure of our fellow citizens and our collective will. But even if vote counting could be done with angelic perfection, an election is always an approximation of the will of the population. God can make objective judgments about whether or not a city contains enough righteous people to ward off disaster. Our job, following Avraham, is to believe in the power of communication and education and deliberation towards doing what is just and right. That task never ends. There can be no total victory in that task. There can be no total defeat in that task. And not one of us, neither the righteous nor the wicked, can be excluded from the extended family of our neighbors and fellow citizens who always deserve our love and respect. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and hope to see you soon.